Oh yeah, here we go. Good times, good feelings, good thoughts. Here we are again. It's another episode of WPDKIN10. This is episode number 17, I believe. Today is May 19th, 2006. This is David right here, aka Bishop Down, aka the White Planetary Dog. And I'm driving as usual. This time I'm driving to a job interview. Actually, I got 2 job interviews today, thank goodness, because I really need to work. Not that I'm not working, I got my own business and, doing many different things, but I need this job to kind of give me like another boost, to keep me busy and also to bring in some much needed income. But the topic of today is thinking. The question is to think or not to think. That is that's the topic today. That's the topic of thinking, So that is that's another issue that we do have. As we as melanated people, we don't think anymore. We don't think enough. I'm not saying that we don't think, but we don't think enough. We don't ask enough questions about about any situation or anything. It's like we're so happy just to get what we can get that we don't think about it before we even take it. You know what I mean? We don't think about it before we even take it at all. We don't. We just like, hey, you know what I mean? I just won $200,000, and I now know I can just buy all this stuff. Now I got some money, right? But okay, but you got to think, what happens when that money runs out? What happens when your $200,000 runs out, or your $1 million runs out? And then you got to think, first thing you just like, of course you get $1 million. I'm not working for anybody. I'll quit, right? But what are you going to do with your time? You're going to spend all your time spending your money? And then when the money's gone, then what do you do? So it's just like, we have to think about that situation. Even if you're out there, like myself, looking for a job, you've been looking and looking, and every place you go to turns you down. You can't find a job, right? Or you don't find the job that you want. Or you're just looking, you don't have a job. So the first job that comes up, you just take it, right? Which is, fine. You do need to take that job, but you need to think about everything that's associated with that job. What are you going to do with that job? What are you going to do with the money you make? Are you going to try to find another job? You need to know everything there is to know about that job so that you are not put in a situation, or you're not putting yourself in a situation that's not going to be good for you, or you will know what the outcome is, or everything about that job. You know what I mean? Like, you have to ask questions like, who is this manager? Who are the managers? What do they expect of you? What if any kind of games do they play? Are they drug dealers, or do they do drugs? Do they have what's the word? Do they have like a superiority complex? You know what I mean? And if they're white, you have to ask. Well, if they're white, they're going to be suspected white supremacists. And you have to ask, are they white supremacists? And then your coworkers. You have to really. When you go to school or choose a career, you have to ask all the questions so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? So it won't be like 5 years down the road or 2 weeks down the road, you just like, oh man, I didn't know this was going to happen. Oh, I didn't know this person was like this. Oh, I didn't know my manager was like this. Oh, I didn't know, about anything, how am I going to get paid? Or I didn't know they're going to, do this and do that. Like, you're supposed to know those things. But the only way you're going to find out, is you ask questions, right? And think. You have to think. Well, asking the questions requires you to think. When you're going into an interview, you should be concerned about nothing other than how you're going to present yourself in the interview. It doesn't matter about who else is there. You don't focus on them. You focus on yourself. Because that's ultimately who the interviewer is going to see. They're going to see you. They're not going to be worried about anybody else or all the other people. You really have to just focus, and you have to think about, what am I going to do when I get this job? And how am I going to get there? And how am I going to, impact other people? You want to be thinking you're going to impact people in a positive way and not a negative way, or a constructive way. To enhance their lives and to, enhance yourself as well. And that requires thinking. Now, and I know, see, we used to never have to think about anything, all right? Because the society that we lived in was a society of knowers. We knew it. We knew everything. We had the knowledge, which we still do. It's just lost and scattered about. But now we live in a society of thinkers, right? Created by thinkers. The European, or the Neanderthal, or the so-called white person, or white people, created a society of thinkers, right? So basically, they think about everything. They're thinkers, where we are knowers. So now we're in a society where our knowledge won't get us that job. You know what I mean? Our knowledge won't get us the income that we want. Our knowledge, when I say knowledge, I'm not talking about the book knowledge. I'm talking about that internal knowledge, that natural knowledge that we possess. You know what I mean? Because all that book knowledge that they give you in school, that is just that is a very minute knowledge. It's really doesn't even hit the surface, or scratch the surface, or even the tip of the iceberg of the knowledge that we possessed and we commanded. You know what I mean? So they want to try to teach you to think now, without the knowledge being presented to you. So you're really thinking on a sub level, right? Because they think on a much higher level, because they use the knowledge that they stole, or that was given to them, or bestowed upon them by who? By us, the original people. But because we were living in a society where we didn't have to think, because we knew everything, there's no reason to think, because you already knew. I mean, you knew how you already knew how the moon. You knew the moon cycle. You knew the stars. You knew the trees and the winds and the water and the animals. You already knew them. Like, you had a personal relationship with all of those things. A personal relationship with the Almighty Creator. So when you have relationships like that, that are universally based, there's no need to think, because you already know what's going to happen. Duh. So, that thinking thing started to come, the Neanderthal, European, they didn't have that, so they had to think everything out. So they became masters of thinking masters. And they kind of just turned it around on us, because, we just kind of let it happen, because we knew that everything would be okay. But I guess we didn't understand, we didn't know. I guess maybe that was something that some people knew, some people didn't worry about. I'm not sure what the thing is. They were changing attitude, blinded, by the trickery and the cleverness of that European. They're very clever, very, very good thinkers, you know. They became the masters. They were students, now they're the masters, right? So now we have to become the masters of the we have to become the we are the students now, right? We are the students, but they're not teaching us anything because they don't want us to become the masters, right? Because see, we taught them everything because we didn't have any fear. We weren't afraid. We weren't afraid. We used everything with love, so we gave them all the information and the knowledge out of the kindness and the love in our hearts because we're not afraid of them. And then when they became the master, then they understood that they began to teach us to be afraid. Putting fear in you, by killing and manipulation and all these things that they did, white supremacy. So as a result of that, now we fear. So as students, well, they fear as well. They taught us to fear like they fear. So because they fear and they taught us to fear, they don't teach us everything because they're afraid what they did will happen back to them. I mean, that's just simple. But that's who they are. You know what I mean? So they were afraid. They're afraid that we're going to do the same things to them. You know what I mean? So they won't teach us everything. They're afraid to teach us everything. Very afraid to teach us everything. But now we have to think, right? So now we have to think. You have to think about everything. But, when you think about everything, you have to think in terms of your own observations. Many people say many different things. You have many different people out here who are conscious, and many other people out here who believe they know things, and some people do. Some people have some really good knowledge. Their observation is very logical. And it's very precise and it's correct. But you can only make your choices from your observations, but you have to observe. You have to take the time to look at what's going on around you and think about it and ask questions about what's going on. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Who did this and why did they do this? And why is our situation like it is right now? And why can't I do this? And why can I do this? You have to ask questions about everything. Everything. I remember my dad was saying something too. He said, before you make any kind of choice or decision, you have to think, first of all, like, how is this decision, how is this going to affect me? What do I need to do? How do I do it? When do I do it? Where? And then you have to go back and ask how again. So, like, you have to actually run through these things through your mind all the time, right? And it's something that has to be practiced, though, because you have to practice these things because we haven't been taught properly how to take all the information and put it into a way that's acceptable for us. We go by just things that are in front of us and we accept it because somebody else or everybody else accepts it. That's just the way that it is, right? Where each individual is different. Each individual is unique. So, in that sense, every formula doesn't work or any formula doesn't work for everybody. I mean, let's say, not everybody can take a sales formula and go out there and sell, but some people can. You know what I mean? That's just like one medication is not going to be the cure-all for everybody because people are different. It's not the physical sense that is different. It's the mental state and the spiritual state, and the mental state. Did I say mental already? Anyway, but all those things are different. They're different for each person. So one thing might work for somebody, but it won't work for somebody else. All day Tuesday. All right, it's time for me to do this interview. I'll be right back.